Welcome back to the Revenge Chronicles, the place where real stories of betrayal, heartbreak, and shocking revenge come to life. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because you don't want to miss what happens next in today's story. Now, listen closely, because what I'm about to tell you is something I never imagined could happen in my own family. I still remember the exact words my mother said the day my world cracked in half. She looked me straight in the eye and said, "Sweetheart, you're being selfish. Family comes first." But what she really meant was, money comes first. That's when I realized I didn't have a family anymore. I had business partners wearing the mask of love. So when I finally had the chance to make a choice, I did. I let them drown in the very thing they replaced me with. And before you judge me, tell me this. If your own family chose cash over you, would you save them from the flood they created? I grew up believing we were close. My parents, David and Maria, ran a small family business, a home renovation company that my dad started in his 20s. I was their only child, the one who stayed late helping mom with invoices and learned to mix paint before I could even drive. My dad used to say, "One day this will all be yours, kiddo." I believed him. I didn't dream of being rich, I just wanted to make him proud. That dream lasted until my Uncle Peter came back into our lives. Uncle Peter was Dad's older brother, the kind of man who wore expensive suits but never paid for dinner. He disappeared for years chasing big deals, but when his latest venture failed, he slithered back into our family with promises of turning the business into a gold mine. I didn't trust him. My gut screamed that this man could sell his own shadow if it turned a profit. But my parents, they were dazzled. He showed them spreadsheets, investors, glossy renovation ads. "You're sitting on a fortune," he said. "With my connections, we can expand statewide." At first, I tried to be supportive. I helped redesign the website, talked to suppliers, worked weekends. But slowly, I noticed changes. My opinions stopped mattering. My dad stopped asking for my input. My mom started saying things like, "Peter knows best, you're still learning." The company name even changed from M&D Homeworks to DNP Designs. My name, my contribution, was erased like I never existed. The first real stab came the day I found out Uncle Peter was drawing a massive salary while I was still making minimum wage. I confronted Dad about it, shaking, heart pounding. He said, "Your family, you shouldn't care about money." The irony almost made me laugh. That's when I realized money was the only thing that mattered to them now. Still, I stayed. I worked harder, thinking if I proved myself, they'd see. But when the expansion began, things got worse. Peter convinced them to take a massive loan for a luxury showroom. He said it would attract wealthy clients. I told Dad it was risky, the market was unstable. He cut me off mid-sentence. "You wouldn't understand, Emily. You've never built anything yourself." That shattered me because I had built something, his business. The breaking point came 6 months later. The bank called me by mistake one morning, asking about missed payments. That's how I found out they were drowning in debt. When I brought it up, Peter blamed me, saying, "Maybe if you weren't so negative, deals would close faster." And my parents, they believed him. My mom actually said, "You've been a downer lately. Maybe you should take a break." I was being pushed out of my own family business. So I did take a break, permanently. I packed a small bag, grabbed my laptop, and left without saying goodbye. I started freelancing as an interior designer, using everything I'd learned. Within a year, I landed a huge contract redesigning boutique hotels. It was ironic, the skills they said weren't valuable built me a life they could only dream of. I moved into a small but beautiful apartment downtown. For the first time in my life, I wasn't surrounded by judgment or greed. Just peace. I didn't hear from them for nearly 2 years. Then, one evening, my phone buzzed with a call from my mom. Her voice trembled. "Honey, please, we need your help." Turns out Uncle Peter had taken more loans behind my parents' backs, forged signatures, and disappeared overseas. The company was collapsing. They were facing foreclosure, lawsuits, everything. She said, "We'll lose the house if we don't find a way to pay." I won't lie, part of me wanted to hang up right there. But the other part, the stupid loyal part, still wanted to save them. I agreed to meet. When I walked into their house, I barely recognized them. My dad looked smaller somehow, tired. The confident man I once admired was now hollow. My mom was clinging to me like I was the lifeboat she'd thrown away. They told me everything. Peter had taken investors' money and vanished. The debt was in their name. They wanted me to use my new business connections to bail them out. I listened quietly. When they finished, I asked, "Why me?" My dad said, "Because you're our daughter. Family helps family." That word, family, it burned. The same family that called me selfish, the same one that erased me from their life, now wanted saving. So that's the situation I was in. I had the power to save them, or let them face the consequences of their choices. Before I tell you what I did, I want you to imagine being in my shoes. The people who betrayed you now beg on their knees. Would you forgive them? Would you write a check? Or would you let karma do its work? Be honest, comment what you'd do before hearing what happened next. Here's what I chose. I told them I'd look into it. I spent the next few days quietly gathering documents, financial records, contracts, everything I could find. It didn't take long to realize how deep the mess was. They weren't just broke, they were liable for fraud because Peter had used their signatures. I could have exposed everything, but I didn't. Instead, I made a few phone calls. I spoke to one of the investors, a woman named Claire who had been scammed. I explained what had happened and told her where Peter had hidden some assets under fake names. She was furious, but she also respected my honesty. She promised not to press charges if my parents cooperated in recovering the funds. Then I made my next move, something colder. I set up a meeting between my parents and Claire's lawyers. I didn't tell them who they were meeting with. When they realized, my mom turned pale. My dad looked at me like I'd betrayed him. But I hadn't, they had betrayed me. I told them, "This is your chance to make it right. Tell the truth." They did. It was humiliating for them, but it cleared part of their name. They had to sell the house and shut down the company. They thought I'd help them start over. But I didn't. I told them I was done. My mom cried, saying, "We just wanted what's best for you." I said, "No, you wanted what's best for your wallet." I walked away that day and I didn't look back. I could have given them money, could have rebuilt the business with one deal. But I didn't. I let them drown in the mess they'd chosen over me. Months passed. Word spread in the local community. Everyone knew about the scandal. The same people who once admired my parents now whispered about them at grocery stores. My dad took a job as a handyman for a competitor. My mom started cleaning offices at night. It sounds cruel, but it was the life they built brick by brick when they replaced loyalty with greed. Meanwhile, my business thrived. I launched my own renovation studio called EM Designs. I never used the family name again. Ironically, some of my first big clients were the same people my uncle had once tried to impress. They trusted me because I was transparent, professional, everything my family wasn't. One day at a charity gala, I bumped into my father's old friend, Mr. Jensen. He said, "I always knew you'd be the one to make it." That moment healed something small inside me. About a year later, I got another call, my mom again. This time it wasn't about money. She said Dad was sick, heart problems. I hesitated, but I went to see him. He was lying in a modest hospital room looking fragile. He smiled weakly when he saw me. "You did good, kiddo," he said. "I messed up. I see that now." I didn't know what to say. For years I wanted that apology, and now it just sounded tired. But I took his hand. We didn't talk about money or business. Just memories. When I left, I cried in the parking lot, not for him but for the version of us that could have been. He passed away a few months later. My mom tried to reconnect, but the bond was gone. She still talks about what could have been if Peter hadn't come along, as if she forgets that they let him in. Sometimes I wonder if I was too harsh, but then I remember every time they called me selfish for asking for fairness. Every time they told me I didn't understand. Every time they looked at me and saw a tool, not a daughter. It's strange, though, success feels different when no one claps for you at the dinner table. When I bought my first house, there was no one to call. When I got featured in a magazine, no one texted congratulations. But I learned to be okay with that. I built my own kind of family, my team, my friends, people who value integrity over profit. A few weeks ago, I drove past the old company building. The sign was gone. The windows boarded up. For a moment, I almost stopped. But then I realized that place wasn't home anymore. It was a graveyard for who I used to be. I drove away without looking back. And now I'm here telling this story. Not because I want pity, but because I want people to understand that sometimes walking away is the revenge. I didn't need to destroy them. They did that themselves when they chose money over love. I just stopped saving them. So tell me, was I wrong? Was I cruel for letting them face the consequences? Or was I finally fair to myself after years of being the family's safety net? I'm curious what you think, because part of me still wonders if compassion should have won. If you were on my side, if you believe loyalty shouldn't mean self-destruction, then like this video. Subscribe for more stories like this, true, raw, and painfully real. And let me know in the comments, what would you have done? Would you have saved them or let them drown? I'll see you all in the next story.